After solving another case, the world's greatest detective is about to enjoy a brief rest as he boards a train headed to London, or so he thinks. And while on board, a murder occurs and everyone is a suspect. Detective Hercule Poirot must solve the crime before it's too late and the train reaches London. Does Murder on the Orient Express actually deliver on a thought-provoking whodunit murder mystery, or does the story veer off the tracks? Let's dive in and take a look in this review. First, this film asks a lot of us as an audience, and it doesn't give us a lot back in return. First, we're asked to believe in a French Sherlock Holmes that has a mustache that would have made Lemmy Killimuster jealous. Second, we're asked to tolerate one bad foreign accent after another. Third, we're asked to give another Johnny Depp performance another shot. And while he's not really in the movie all that much, the time he's on screen, he's actually still not really in this movie either. Finally, we're asked to invest and care about a group of strangers that we really don't get to know until almost the finale of the film. It's leading all the way up into the third act before we finally get a lot of backstory on who these characters are and why we should have been invested in them this entire time. The film's runtime is almost 2 hours long, so to go the whole time without actually getting a lot on the characters that we're watching on screen is a bit taxing. The overall story of this film isn't actually that much about the murder either. It's also not about all of the people on the train. The film itself primarily deals with the detective Hercule Poirot and his method of crime solving. There's a lot of really great cinematography in this too, with regards to angles and how they're actually filming different scenes. We have a scene that takes place on the train where the detective and one or two other people on the train are going through the cabin of the victim who was murdered. But instead of doing it with close-up angle shots to like show faces and everything else, they choose to do an above shot where it's actually looking down and you get to see them kind of moving through the cabin and like how everything looks, almost as if you were playing the game Clue, when you look down at the board and you can see like how the room is designed, where everything is set up. So you actually get a sense of what the detective is looking at more than us looking at the detective. And there are certain moments like that throughout this film that I particularly enjoyed. Also, this story did feel similar to like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes films. That was a bit darker, it's a bit grittier. This film is a lot more lighthearted, the colors are a lot cleaner. There's almost like a bluish white tone to the film, just the way they shot it, just to kind of give it a cooling effect on our eyes when we're watching this film. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, a little lighter fare when we're dealing with a murder mystery, especially a classic story like Murder on the Orient Express. Overall, the talent and all of the actors in this film are grade A, except for Johnny Depp, who still struggles to find his voice in his particular role. Hopefully, whatever he's got coming down the pipe reinvigorates his acting spirit, because for the last couple of films he's been good, but it really hasn't hit home like some of his earlier work. But overall, as I stated earlier, we really don't get a lot of information on these characters, and the information we do get is very thin, it's very surface level, so it's difficult to invest our time and our emotion into these people and their motivations when we really don't get to know them that well from beginning to end. Murder on the Orient Express is in theaters right now, and there are so many other movies in theaters that you could go see instead of this that might be better served for your hard-earned dollars and your time. At best, this is just an okay movie. Like I said, you get surface level stuff on the characters, you don't really get a lot into their backstory. It's a murder mystery, but it's not a murder mystery in the sense of like a whodunit. It's a murder mystery, and then we're following one guy's methods to see how he does solve his crimes. Thankfully, Kenneth Branagh delivered as Kenneth Branagh always does in his roles, and that makes his time on screen as the detective enjoyable, and also the visual styles that he used when telling this story as the director also enjoyable. However, the moral of this story was a bit confusing to me, because at the end, spoiler alert. Did I mention this is a spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. At the end, we find out that it wasn't one murder, it was everybody involved murdered this guy. They all took their turn stabbing him to death. Pretty dark, right? So the detective offers one last shot for everybody involved in this murder by handing them a gun and saying, the only way you guys get away with this is if you kill me. They pick up the gun, they try to kill him, but then they find out that the gun wasn't loaded and it was all a ruse. Because of the motivation that they all had to kill this individual who was played by Johnny Depp, he wanted to see if they were actually murderers and would they kill again, or was it just a one and done? They murdered the guy, they had reason to, and now they're moving on with their lives because they got closure. However, once he finds out that they would kill again, he just kind of goes about his day. I'll repeat that. He finds out these people would murder again because they would try to kill him, and then he just leaves the train. The moral of the story almost felt like if everybody's guilty, everything will be okay. Which was kind of weird, because the intro we see him setting up to stop the crime and to send the perpetrator to jail, and then at the end he's like, well, everybody's guilty, so I guess I can just go home. What? The ending made no sense. I was like, what? Wait, what? What? Wait, what? These people just tried to kill you, detective. And you're just like, yeah, I didn't want to go to London anyway. I'll go somewhere else. And he leaves the train. So Murder on the Orient Express is in theaters right now. If you want to check this film out, it is a well-directed film. The story doesn't really make sense by the end, and the characters are pretty thin. So I'm not going to recommend you spend your hard-earned dollars or your time on this film. Go see Thor Ragnarok instead. Murder on the Orient Express is getting 0 high fives from this guy.